This video is dedicated to Outlaw. Outlaw, thank you for supporting the EDH channel. Umori the Collector, Relentless Rats, versus Sydri Galvanic Genius, Jhoira Weatherlight Captain, and Niv Mizzet the Firemind. That is not an incredible hand, is it? Because we've got some expensive stuff as well as only one land. And that allows them to go for Traveller's Amulet off of the Chief Engineer. Then following things up with Pacification Array. You can tap a target artifact or creature for 2 mana. Then the Burning Prophet going in at Niv Mizzet. I think that's where we are going to be going as well, because Niv Mizzet is scary enough on its own, but with Death Touch in play, it's even more frightening. A Talisman of Progress gets them into the white mana they need. I don't know if they have a land to play here though. They go for Ashnod's Transmigrant. And we, wouldn't you know it, get into another rat. So, going to have to play the Urborg here, which puts Sydri on all 3 colours that they need. Yeah, I think we just have to keep our fingers crossed for a land. So let's go for the Relentless Rats. And then we will swing in at Niv Mizzet as well. Torbrand, Thane of Redfell. They are missing some blue mana, but yeah, if the idea is to throw a bunch of pingers around, then Torbrand is going to do some work for them. And down comes the second commander of the game, Jhoira, Weatherlight Captain, into a Phyrexian Walker, followed by a Pyrite Spellbomb, which gives them a card draw as well as a scry. And as it turns out, they would have fixed their own mana anyway, because Sydri goes in for a Chromatic Lantern now. So missing the lands, but managing to make mana rocks at least. Okay, we're still just going to be limping out Relentless Rats. This happened in the last game as well, so I might have to go over the land count. I don't know how many lands are in this deck actually. I think it's 36, 37. Yeah, just had a quick look. We've got 36 cards, 36 lands, so might have to go down a Relentless Rats. Anyway, let's go into Sydri, because I am worried about what the Niv Mizzet player will be able to do with the Death Touch. Goblin Chainwhirler now, that is a lightning bolt on everything. Yeah, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. So that's a couple of our Relentless Rats down already. Yeah, had we been able to get into a land there, we would have had our rats survive. Then Death Touch and First Strike, doing some good work there. The Gorgon Flail is going to go onto the Chainwhirler. We have to exile a card from our graveyard, so the reanimation in this game isn't going to be so good, I don't think. Then Torbran goes in for 4 points of damage in towards Jhoira. Jhoira deciding to pass straight through the turn, so probably holding up mana for things like the Spell Bomb and the Pacification Array. Solemn Simulacrum will allow Sydri to get into one of the lands that they desperately need. And speaking of lands, a blue land has come down over here from Niv Mizzet, so they're just 1 blue away from us seeing that. Alright, that's really good. We get into a forest, finally get into the land we need, and luckily, yeah, the 2 basic forests in the deck always seem to show up for some reason. Yeah, I might have to put 1 forest in the deck that we can bring out with a Cultivate or something. Anyway, we can go for the Relentless Rats here, and if we get into another land next turn, we can go for the Zendikar Resurgent. I'll probably hold on to a rat that we can cast into the Resurgent and draw more cards. The Jhoira player is going to have chance to shock one of our rats here. So let's go in for another one and see if they go for the Spell Bomb onto that. Okay, they do not. They allow us to get the buff. And then I would like to swing in at Niv Mizzet, but doesn't look as though they're going to use the tapping creature, so yeah, let's go in towards Sydri and get rid of that Solemn Simulacrum. They do of course block with that, which will allow them to draw a card, and then we will pass the turn and see what other shenanigans our opponents can get up to. Niv Mizzet cycling a Desert of the Fervent first of all, probably trying to get themselves into the blue mana they need. Now at the beginning of combat, Jhoira saving this for themselves as I assumed they would, and they are going to save themselves 6 points of damage from the Goblin Chainwhirler, and that will keep it tapped for when it comes back around to our turn, so we might be able to push some damage through at them. Let's see if they swing in with Torbran. They do, they swing in at Jhoira, so Jhoira will take 4 points of damage here. Okay, again, Jhoira passing through the turn. They do have 6 mana available to them now, so they could have gone in for their commander, but obviously deciding to hold back with that. And now we can see why I wanted to hold back on the Urborg for as long as possible, because without Chromatic Lantern, they would have been really struggling on black mana here, getting into plenty of white and blue mana. But they had the Lantern anyway, so it's irrelevant. Hardly any mana in the first few turns, up to a bunch of mana rocks. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 mana available to them when they untap. Then tapping down all of it into a Steel Hellkite. Yeah, I think they might want to swing in at us and get rid of our rats, but I'd be worried about the Gorgon Flail if I was my opponent. Niv Mizzet might be in the way of the Steel Hellkite by the time it wants to swing in, but Steel Hellkite will take this thing down. It might be that they trade if they can get 1 point of damage onto this. Anyway, back round to our turn again, and still hoping for a land for the Resurgent. Might be that there's some counter magic at the table still. There is some untapped blue mana. Okay, starting to see a bit of luck on the lands front now. Let's just... yeah, I'm going to go in at Niv Mizzet first of all. Then they are going for something in response, that is Leadership Vacuum. Target player returns each commander they control from the battlefield to the command zone. Alright, that's not really the end of the world as long as we manage to land our Zendikar Resurgent. So we'll still deal 6 points of damage to them at least. And then it is in for an attempt on the Zendikar Resurgent. And we're really going to be in a tough spot if this doesn't resolve. But it does, luckily. So now it's just a case of keeping our fingers crossed that it survives until next turn. And I said it in the last video as well, but what we want to do is get in an effect like this and then get down an enchantment called Alluring, which allows everyone to play 3 CMC and below creatures at flash speed for free. And obviously that goes really well in our Relentless Rats deck, and the aim is to play them all out for free from our hand, draw a card each time, or maybe even multiple cards each time, and continue to play Relentless Rats as we draw into them. And yep, there he is, Niv Mizzet the Firemind. That's what we were worried about. I think they've got the mana to put the Gorgon Flail on there as well. Yep, an equip cost of 2. And I dare say the red creatures are going to come in at us because we've been swinging in at them pretty hard. But we'll see how they decide to attack here. The goblins coming in at us, as is the Torbran. Yeah, I expected that. So that's 10 points of damage onto us. Then going for that equip of the Gorgon Flail onto their commander. And, oh, that gets a +1/+1 buff. I forgot about that. So they are definitely going to trade in the air with the Steel Hellkite now. It might be that Steel Hellkite comes in at us and pays 3 into that. And this time deciding to play the Jhoira. Not sure what they were holding up through the past couple of turns, but deciding to get their commander down anyway. Following up their commander being cast with a Conjurer's Bauble. You can sacrifice that, put up to 1 target card from graveyard to the bottom of the library. That's a cantrip near enough, isn't it? Then going for more exile onto us, which makes sense because we can reanimate the Relentless Rats. First off, equipping the Shadow Spear onto the Steel Hellkite. So that now has lifelink and trample. They could push damage through over here, thanks to the trample, if they wanted to sacrifice their Steel Hellkite to do that. Not sure what Drone's thinking at the moment, though. Alright, and then getting into a Duplicant as well. Duplicant has to go on to Niv Mizzet, surely, you would think. Argument to be made for Torbran, but yep, they do go for Niv Mizzet. If they swing in with the Steel Hellkite, they can only pay 2 at the moment, which would get rid of the Gorgon Flail, so I think that's a good idea. They could also hit Jhoira and pay 1 and get rid of a bunch of stuff from them. It is Jhoira that they're going in towards. And yeah, I don't mind that either, to be honest. This will become a huge pain in the endgame, and this is hurting us as well. So yeah, getting rid of those things isn't the worst thing for us. And they do go for the activation on that, so Jhoira's board is pretty much cleared there. They've only got 2 cards left in hand, so if they can keep their Jhoira in play, they can absolutely get back into this game. And we are down to 18 life. I didn't realise how low we were, actually. Lose another flip, so we go down even lower. And get into Garrick's Pack Leader, which is even more card draw, so I am definitely going in for that. We'll draw a card from the Resurgent, get into another Rats, play a Relentless Rats, draw 1 from the Zendikar Resurgent, and draw 1 from the Garrick's Pack Leader when it enters. We only need a couple of Rats in play to trigger the Garrick's Pack Leader. And we get into another one, as you could probably predict. So we'll just make another 4 mana from the 2 remaining lands and get down another Relentless Rats. Could have absolutely flooded the board with them if we'd kept our commander in play. So that was a good play to bounce it with the Leadership Vacuum. We get into another land that we need, so we're drawing some cards at least. I'm not hopeful for us winning this one because there's some good removal in play. I think pretty much the only chance of us getting anywhere close. Oh, we haven't made a land this turn, alright. So we do get another Relentless Rats here. Yeah, I think the only chance of us winning this one is getting into Alluring and being able to surprise our opponents with an Akroma's Memorial or something like that. But we are showing our opponents exactly what we want to do in this deck now, as well as all of you watching. Alright, so a bunch of Relentless Rats. I think we go for Stonehenge next turn and gain at least a little bit of life. That depends on whether we're going to have our Relentless Rat survive. I don't think we will while there's a Steel Hellkite in play. But we'll continue to show Drone of War that we mean them no harm. Not yet anyway. And we'll hit Niv Mizzet for 12 points of damage. Commander Sphere from Niv Mizzet, so we're not going to be seeing their commander again this turn. Deciding to ramp instead, get themselves into more blue magic. And then a Karplusan Minotaur. Cumulative upkeep of flip a coin, and then whenever you win a flip, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever you lose one, it deals 1 damage to any choice of an opponent's. Hopefully we'll be able to get rid of this opponent before they manage to make use of Death Touch damage. Although if they lose the flip, then we can have the Minotaur deal Death Touch damage to itself. Anyway, deciding not to swing in, which is probably wise when they're at such a low life total. Jhoira did have a cheap spell to cast, that is a Mannequin, 2 mana, 1/1 Mana Dork, followed by Thoughtcast, which they have to pay more mana into than I'm sure they would have liked. That would have been a 1 mana draw 2 spell if it wasn't for the Steel Hellkite. I think the Steel Hellkite is going to be looking in our direction next turn. Alright, let's see where this Steel Hellkite attacks. Okay, luckily decided to check the chat, and Drone has asked where the rats are going, so hopefully they're not going to be swinging in towards us. A Soul Guide Lantern, seeing some nice graveyard hate in this game today. Yeah, Soul Guide Lantern is a really, really good one. That enters and they get rid of the Phyrexian Furnace. So they probably want to interact with their own graveyard, and they're worried about graveyard hate themselves. And not attacking in at all with the Steel Hellkite. I didn't realise that... Yeah, I didn't realise they'd passed through the combat. So deciding not to deal any more damage to anyone. These three are talking in the chat on the Discord, in the voice chat, so I don't know what kind of deals are being struck or anything like that. They're obviously not talking in the text chat of Magic Online whilst actually talking to each other in real life. Anyway, our Relentless Rats survive, which I'm grateful for. A lot of mana being held up over here, so there might be an evacuation or something like that. We continue to lose flips to the Mana Crypt, so I definitely want to get this Great Henge down. Then I think I will go in for our commander, just so that I can spew out as many Relentless Rats as possible over the next few turns. Get into a land, and then we name creature again with our commander, and we draw a couple of cards as well as put a plus counter on our commander. And this is exactly what we want to do in order to keep us in Relentless Rats in this deck. And Relentless Rats is definitely what we're managing to keep ourselves in. Okay, Concordant Crossroads might help us later on. I think I want to surprise my opponents with that. So let's just drop Relentless Rats for now. Okay, getting to the Bloodbond March. I had high hopes for this. Part of the reason that this deck is green is so that we can go for effects like this. And then another piece of graveyard interaction that's going to be useless to us this game, thanks to the Soul Guide Lantern. Although if we draw enough cards, even with a board wipe and a graveyard exile, we might still be able to get some stuff going. Let's go in for yet another rat. Okay, getting into some more interactive stuff now. I think I'm going to get down Concordant Crossroads and the Cover of Darkness. And then we can maybe take out 2 players. It might encourage Drone to interact with us. They're definitely going for Steel Hellkite next turn anyway. So we might as well just attempt this. And we're obviously going to name Rat in the tribal deck with Cover of Darkness. So now all of our stuff has Fear, which won't help us against the artifacts. But we'll see if we can take down a couple of players. So we'll take 2 of our Relentless Rats in here. And then Night Spawn can go 8, 16, 24. And then one more in at night spawn, one more in at the red player, or the Izzet player, just for good measure to make sure that we get our damage through. Yeah, you never know, someone might have some bounce. So yeah, we'll go like that. And hopefully taking 2 players out here. Like I said, it might be that Drone of War goes for some interference. Or Jhoira might have some interference, 3 cards in hand. Alright, they were just tapping out their mannequin to allow that through. Yeah, I forgot about the fact that they had a mannequin, so I'm glad I took more damage through at them. But they decided to tap it out to allow it through anyway. Okay, there we go. So managing to take a couple of players out. I don't think... maybe we could have taken Drone out there as well, but I was being true to my word and not punishing them for not taking us out. We'll try and draw as many cards as we can next turn with Sylvan Library. And the Concordant Crossroads may well... it might hurt us if they get down a big creature, but it might come in handy for us as well. Relentless Rats getting discarded. Might go for Bloodbond March next turn and encourage them to exile our graveyard. Okay, they don't get into a creature, clearly, so they're just going straight in for Steel Hellkite, taking us down to 8. If we go for Patriarch's Bidding next turn, we are definitely going to see the Lantern go off, although our opponent might do something to get in our way right now. It's X7 that they're going for, to get rid of our mana doubler. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd still rather have the double mana. It's really the card draw that it's in there for, but the double mana is really useful with spewing Relentless Rats into play. Oh, they've gone Soul Guide Lantern. That's curious. Yeah, trying to draw a card with that. Alright. No, not trying to. They are drawing a card. Okay, Oblivion Stone they're going for, so... yeah. Not entirely sure what the script is there. Not getting rid of our Relentless Rats, so we just go wide on them next turn. Unless there's something that I'm not seeing. Win the Mana Crypt flip this time. And we will just put 2 Relentless Rats on top. We can draw into them. Play a Swamp. We'll play the Bloodbond March because we haven't seen that card before on the channel since I've started playing this deck. So that is whenever a player casts a creature spell, each player returns all cards with the same name from graveyard to battlefield. So we'll just play 1 Relentless Rats here to show that. And obviously we've only got 1 Relentless Rats left in the graveyard, but it'll bring that back and trigger the Great Henge. You can imagine what it would be like if we had a bunch more Relentless Rats in the graveyard. It would have brought all of them back, triggered all of this card draw, put plus counters on things, the whole 9 yards. So we'll just draw some cards here. I'm not going to play all of our Relentless Rats. So we just attack in with all creatures. And I think this is the victory for us. Okay, turning one of our rats into an artifact creature rat. They can block with the duplicant, but deciding not to. And taking them down to -65. So yeah, a little bit of an oversight there, deciding to go for the 7 mana activation to get rid of our mana doubler. Instead of going for the 3 mana into that, you can only activate that ability once. So leaving us with a mana doubler and trying to get rid of the Relentless Rats and hoping that we can't get into even more, which we absolutely could have done. Yeah, I think we had them either way, because even if they got rid of all the rats, we have Concordant Crossroads for haste. We can still flood the board with rats and draw into more rats and probably develop a board state exactly like this one, even though they've just wiped out and exiled our rats from the field of play with the dragon. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable in saying that we had them no matter what they went for with Steel Hellkite. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this return to the Relentless Rats deck. It proved very popular, more popular than I realised it would in the first video, so hopefully you all enjoy this one just as much. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up and comment if you did. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.